So I thought I would come out and do a review on my Ford Everest. You can see in the background there. I just thought I haven't seen many real world reviews from people that actually own Everest and have done for a while and use them, you know, off-road and for kids and all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty awesome car. I'm really happy with it, but I have had a couple issues with it and I've got a couple of minor complaints, but overall I really enjoy the car and I definitely recommend it, and I think it is good value for money when you're considering what it is and what it can do. So getting onto it, the first things I want to touch on was the issues I've had, which haven't been many, and just some of the things that I'm not real happy with. So the only major issue I had was at about 35,000 kilometers, the alternator crapped itself and left me stranded on the highway, and I was on my way back from a photo shoot. Yeah, that was kind of a pain, but I rang Ford and it was within about an hour. They had picked up the car on a tow truck. This is later at night, so you know, it was the Ford roadside assistance or whatever. I rang them up and within about an hour I had the car home. You know, they picked it up, towed it, it was free obviously, and then I actually had a spare battery at home, so I chucked that in, and I was able to start it and drive it to the Ford dealer, which it's not too far away from my house. You know, it was, I don't know, maybe 4 kilometers or something, luckily. So I drove it there, and then the next day they had replaced the alternator under warranty, no questions asked or whatever. They just rang me that afternoon and said that it was ready to be picked up. And this is John Andrew Ford in West Auckland that I've been going to, and yeah, I've never really had any issues with them at all, so really happy with that. The other minor issue I had was the sunroof kind of wouldn't close properly. I wouldn't really call it an issue, it just needed to be recalibrated. I actually just did that today on my way here, so I wanted to see how they would react to the service of me just going in. And I drove in, went up to the counter, I didn't have any pre-appointment. Within 5 minutes the foreman of the service center came out and fixed it for me, and you know, recalibrated with the computer or whatever, and sorted it out, and now it's fine. Other than that, I haven't had any other issues at all mechanically with the car. It's done 46,000 kilometers now, really solid, and like I said, it is the bi-turbo model, so I was a little bit concerned. So before this car I had a 2019 Ford Wildtrak Ranger, and that was the 3.2, which at the time I had the choice of both, the 2-liter or the 3.2, but I went with the 3.2 because everybody was saying that you know, it had more power and it just was better for towing, and I bought it and it was fine. Never felt like it was lacking in power or anything. The only complaint I had with it was the transmission was kind of clunky and not really smooth at all, and it was just noisy, really noisy old school engine for today's standards anyway. And so this time I obviously went for the bi-turbo, and I'm really happy with it, honestly. It actually feels like it has a little bit more power to me, but you know, I'm fairly mechanically minded, and anybody that is will be able to tell you that it's obviously working a little bit harder to make that money because to make that power, because it's a smaller displacement engine with an extra turbo. But it's been fine. I've towed with it, haven't had any issues with it, haven't had any issues with the transmission. Really smooth, much quieter, and it does, you know, it spools up a little bit faster with the 2 turbos. So yeah, really happy with that as also. I couldn't, you know, obviously I'm struggling to find complaints, so I'm just mentioning everything I can possibly think of. So moving on from that, the build quality I find really great, especially for a Ford. Fords obviously aren't the most high-end vehicles in the world, but you know, the interior is really nice. It's a really nice place to be in. The Everest is much quieter than the Ranger, probably because it's a wagon, not a ute, so it has more sound deadening and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so really happy with the build quality. The only thing with the paint on the black one, the paint's pretty crappy quality. It's real orange peely and just not really that great, but again, it's a minor complaint. Once it's polished up, it looks fine. The only modifications I've done to it have been the suspension, so I replaced all the suspension with the Outback Armour 2-inch trail lift, so that's shocks and springs all round. And I put, you know, a few blackout bits because I'm not really a fan of chrome, and I got dark tints all around the whole vehicle, which are like the heat-proof carbon ones. Other than that, it's pretty much stock. I haven't done anything to the engine. on-road performance, I find it really great. It's real smooth. I can drive it for hours. I drive a lot, being a wedding photographer, and I travel a lot for work. I drive a lot, and I can drive from, you know, Auckland to Wellington. This is what, I don't know, 7-8 hours without stopping, no worries at all. You know, it's got heated seats for winter and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's just really smooth. I did find with the old suspension, the stock suspension, it was quite soft. Like if you brake, it would really lunge forward. With the Outback Armour, it's obviously stiffer, but it's not too stiff. You know, it's fine. It handles better on the road, and it does really well off-road. If you've seen a couple of the clips already, I don't know if I've put them in yet, but you know, on sand, anything, you know, around rocky trails or anything like that, it handles really nice, and it definitely has more articulation than it did when it was stock. The tyres I'm running on it are Falcon AT3Ws, and they are 33 by 11.5 the size. I did make a list, I'll be right back. So one of the other things I really like about it is the back seats. When they fold down basically completely flat. You know, they're on a little bit of a slope, but they are completely flat, and it's long enough, plenty long enough for me to sleep in the back of it with like my camp mattress, full stretched out. I'm like 6'1", and I can sleep full stretched out without touching the top back of the seat or the back of the tailgate. So if you like car camping, really good for that. Fuel economy, I sit with, you know, it's obviously changed a little bit with the bigger wheels and the lift, but I get around about 10 to 11 litres per 100 Ks, you know, just mixed. That's mostly city driving or like urban driving, and you know, maybe 30% highway. And I do sit in traffic a lot when I'm taking my kids to school every morning. So, you know, on the highway, I notice that if you're looking at the real-time stats, it runs at about 8 to 9 litres per 100 Ks, which is pretty great. And overall range, I can get about 800 kilometers to a tank. The third row seats in the back are just big enough for an adult to get into. I've had whole wedding parties in the back, you know, in the car, so full 7 people in the car, and they're definitely big enough. I can sit in the back, probably not for a real long period of time, but you can get in, you know, the seats slide forward and you can climb in reasonably easy, and you've got enough leg room to kind of sit in there. So I've had other 7-seaters, like we had the Ford, my partner had the Ford Territory 7-seater, and getting an adult in the back of that was near impossible. But yeah, overall, man, I'm really happy with it. I think it's probably my favorite full drive I've had, and I've had a lot of full drives. There's not really much it can't do except fit under some car park buildings now with the lift kit. I think the 2-inch lift lifted it a little bit more than 2 inches, and with the 33s, you know, it's quite high, quite a bit higher than the stock one. But it looks rad and it goes awesome off-road, so yeah, real happy with that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you at all. It wasn't real specific or anything, but like I said, I bought it, basically knew it was like an X demo, and it's done 47,000 Ks on the clock, and just the alternator issue, which was a pain, but I think that was rare because I couldn't find many other people on the forums that had that issue. But yeah, really recommend it, real happy with it, and definitely a big thanks to Ford West Auckland for sorting everything out really fast whenever I've had an issue. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I've probably missed some things, but if you have any questions about it or comments, or you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, give me a thumbs down, I guess, whatever. And see you guys in the next one.